You know, we're always talking about the carbon footprint of things like cars or flights or power plants. But what if I told you that the biggest environmental impact from the device in your pocket happens before you even open the box? Today, we're going to unbox the real carbon cost of your smartphone.
So let's just start with a question. When you think about your phone's carbon footprint, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably charging it every night, right? Well, that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle. The real question is this: where does the vast majority, we're talking around 3/4, of its total lifetime emissions really come from?
And yeah, the answer is probably not what you'd expect. It's not the use phase, all the electricity you use to charge it. It's the manufacturing. A whopping 75% of a phone's entire carbon debt is locked in before it ever even gets to you.
Okay, let's dive into this because this is so important. We need to understand the numbers behind that massive manufacturing slice of the pie. This is what we call the pre-unboxing footprint.
All right, so here's the number you really need to remember. A typical modern smartphone is responsible for about 70 kilograms of CO2 equivalent emissions over its entire life. Now, sure, some are a little less, some of the big flagship models are more, but 70 kilos? That's a really solid average.
And this is the part that's kind of mind-blowing. That 70-kilogram footprint isn't spread out evenly over the years you own it. The vast majority of it, that 75%, is generated and pumped into the atmosphere before you even get to peel off that plastic screen protector for the very first time. So let's break that down, right? Where do all those manufacturing emissions actually come from? I mean, what's going on behind the scenes that's so carbon intensive? And the complexity is just staggering. It's not just one thing, oh no. It is this massive global effort that starts with mining and refining dozens of different metals. We're talking lithium, cobalt, all those rare earths. Then you've got the incredibly energy-hungry process of making the semiconductors, the phone's brain. And finally, it all comes together in these high-tech clean rooms connected by this tangled global supply chain.
This quote just nails it. Your phone isn't one thing. Think about it. You've got metals from Australia, chips from Taiwan, batteries from China, all put together in Vietnam. Each and every one of those 40 to 60 parts has its own journey, its own carbon cost, before they're finally taped together into the device you hold in your hand.
Okay, so now that we've got a handle on the footprint of just one phone, let's pull back. Let's zoom out. Because the real story here isn't about one device, it's about the absolutely mind-boggling scale of the entire global system. In recent years, the industry has been pumping out around 1.3 billion new smartphones every single year. That makes them one of the most mass-produced, highest turnover consumer electronics products in history. It's wild.
So, what happens when we do the math? You take that 1.3 billion new phones a year and you multiply it by that average 70-kilogram footprint we just talked about. Yeah, the number gets big, really big.
The result is 91 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent emissions. And remember, that's just from making new smartphones each year. It's a classic climate blind spot, right? Each individual phone feels small, but the system of making so many, so often, is absolutely massive.
Just to put that 91 million tons in perspective for you, it's pretty much the same as the entire annual emissions of a mid-sized industrial country like Belgium. So the carbon cost of just 1 year's worth of new phones is on par with a whole nation.
Which leads to the big question, right? Why on earth are we making 1.3 billion new phones every year? Well, this brings us to the real engine driving this enormous carbon footprint, our rapid replacement cycle, our upgrade addiction.
Check this out. This table shows the simple power of just holding onto your phone. If you replace that 70-kilogram phone every 2 years, your yearly footprint is 35 kilograms. But if you can stretch that to 5 years, you spread out that big upfront manufacturing cost, and your annual footprint drops all the way down to just 14 kilos. That's a 60% reduction, and you didn't have to change the technology at all.
And this gets to the heart of the problem. You've got this fundamental conflict, right? The business models of carriers and phone makers, they're often built on frequent upgrades, on churn, to keep the money flowing. But the atmosphere, a stable climate, that depends on durability. It wants us to build things that last.
Okay, but here's the good news. Understanding this problem actually points us directly to some really clear and powerful solutions. So, what is the smartest choice we can make?
Here are the most effective things you can do. And number one, by a long shot, is what we've been talking about.
simply keeping the phone you already have for longer. Going from 2 years to 4 almost halves your annual phone emissions. After that, it's about repairing it when you can, thinking about refurbished if you really need a new one, and always recycling it properly when it's truly done.
And look, this isn't just on us. There are huge system-wide changes we can push for. Policies like right-to-repair laws that make fixing things easier and cheaper. Mandating longer software support, say for 5 to 7 years, which instantly makes the hardware useful for longer. These are the kinds of changes that can drive massive emissions cuts across the whole industry.
So what's the takeaway here? All the human ingenuity that got us these incredible supercomputers in our pockets, well, now that ingenuity has to shift to how we make them, and more importantly, how long we use them. Because the most sustainable choice isn't about buying some new green model. The cleanest phone on the planet is the one that's already in your pocket.